and welcome back to the channel. I'm Veronica, the founder of Good Grief. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Sheila K. Collins and Christine Gautreaux, co-authors of Stillpoint, a self-care playbook for caregivers and longtime facilitators of embodied, creative approaches to healing and resilience. Christine is a social worker, leadership coach, and certified inner play leader with more than 20 years of experience supporting caregivers through burnout, transition, and stress. Sheila is an organizational grief consultant and psychotherapist who has spent her career helping people transform grief into healing and meaning. So many of us spend our days caring for others and forget to make a space for ourselves. Sheila and Christine are here to share a radical approach to self-care that uses movement, storytelling, and embodied practices to help you feel more grounded, resilient, and connected. Sheila and Christine, thank you both so much for being here.
So much, Veronica. It's great to be back in Texas, right? That's where all of you are. Because I used to bring the system we use is Interplay, it's called, and I used to drive from Fort Worth 2.5 hours to bring Interplay to that community many, many years ago. So it's great. So what we're gonna, I'll give you a sort of the advanced organizer of what we're doing. So we'll do just a little grounding. We're gonna see who's in the room. We're gonna teach a little bit from our book. This is, which is on her wall, but it's also the Still Point, the playbook for caregivers to find ease and time to breathe and reclaim joy. And we all would like to have all of that. So we'll do some 5 skills of self-care, and then we'll do a commitment, do our commitments to self-care, and then we have a final group movement that we'll do. So that's for those that like the big picture. That's the big picture. So I usually like to start us by just taking a deep breath together and let it out with a sigh. And just shake out a hand, shake out another hand, shake out a foot, shake out another foot, shake out what you're sitting on, shake out your voice. Yes, yes, we are here. And that's no small thing. We are here.
Right? We are here and grateful to be here. So, we're going to play together a couple of different ways today. And yes, shout out to Texas. It was where I was born and raised in Lancaster, Texas, 28 miles south of Dallas. And it's where Sheila and I met and have had many adventures over the years together. I now live in the land of the Muskogee Creek, about a mile east of the Chattahoochee River, in a place called Duluth, Georgia. It's north of Atlanta, but I have a lot of family and friends still back home. So, one of the things we're going to do today, because we're online, we like to have fun and play. So, just so you know, feel free anytime if you want to look at the bottom of your screen in the middle and do a reaction. Feel free to communicate with us through the reaction buttons and the emojis. You can also put questions or comments in the chat. Sometimes we'll be asking you to notice, and always it's an invitation. If we ask you to do something that doesn't feel good, don't do it. We believe in inner authority. So, but you also have anytime you can put it on the chat, or if there's times we ask for voices in the room, you can come off of silence and let us hear your voice. So, one of the first ways we like to play together is a little tool called Mentimeter. And if you have your phone with you, you can do it on phone or you can do it on another tab. But I'm about to share screen, and what you're going to see is you are going to see a code. And what we're going to do is we're going to create some art together. This is an anonymous thing, so you can put whatever you want to put, and you can put more than one answer, but we're going to create and make some art together. So what you do is you just turn on your camera on your phone and you point it at that QR code and tap on the little yellow button that comes up. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring you to this question. How does your body let you know when you haven't been taking care of yourself? And then I invite you just to put in some answers. And let's see what who's in the room and what is happening in our bodies. Tired, yep. Insomnia.
Mm.
Annoyed. Oh, I resonate with that one. I could have written that one. And so if you see one that you could have written, put it in there again. Because what'll happen is then it will highlight those, it'll make those bigger.
Mm.
Tight shoulders, frustrated, annoyed, irritable, headache. Oh, I resonate with that one. Nervous. Yeah. Frustrated.
Mhm.
Yeah. Headache. Yep.
Mhm.
Right. Alert and anxious. Oh, like hypervigilant alert. Yes. Oh, sarcastic. I kind of love that one. Nausea. Yep. Tummy's getting tight. Yep. Absolutely.
Mm.
So we know what stress feels like in our bodies as caregivers, right? We know the weight of caregiving, especially when we're not taking care of ourselves. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about what is self-care and what is it not. And Sheila, I think I usually do this, but I think we have you doing this tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah. So, well, if you start with what it is not, and believe me, in the years since we wrote this, people have gotten off track, I think. So, it is not continuing to educate and train ourselves to withstand more stress in order to take on more projects and more stress. We all know people who insist on staying in unhealthy jobs or relationships while asking for help in order to tolerate more abuse more gracefully. It is not putting ourselves through the frequent recurring cycles of overwork followed by crashing to recover. I have to give one of my former husbands the credit for that. I mean, that's what he said, you only have two speeds, full speed ahead and total collapse. This rhythm of full speed ahead followed by total collapse is damaging to all dimensions of ourselves, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. So, what it is, though, is tuning in, recognizing earlier and earlier the subtle physical signs of potential difficulties. Caring people become good at reading other people's body language. Now, you know you can do that, and you do it. But you might not be always reading your own, like that clenched jaw, that stooped shoulder, those sad eyes. Self caring means tuning into ourselves and learning how to read our own body language. So, also, self care is tending, being actively involved in a caring role creates the potential for taking on other people's tensions and stress. In tending to ourselves, we perfect the art of not taking on other people's tension. And when we do take on their tension, when we tend to ourselves, then we learn to let go of it quickly. That's like the shaking it off that we did a little bit when we started. Learn quickly so we can have a life of balance and vitality. So,
Right? Is it just me? This is why I usually teach this one because I need it tattooed across my forehead about full speed ahead and then crashing to recover. So thank you for that, Sheila. And thank you for the words about tending. So, what we're going to do next is we're going to put you into some connection rooms. And we like to call them connection rooms instead of breakout rooms because we really believe that that's what we're doing out there is checking in with each other. And we're going to do a form called I Could Talk About. So this is a very short form where it's like the headline of the story or I like to say the subject of the email, but not the whole email. So when you get out in the connection room, I'm going to give you the prompt and you're going to go back and forth with this person. And there's no right or wrong answer. There's no, like, just whatever kind of comes up for you. So if Sheila and I were out in the connection room and our prompt is going to be, what self-care is not for me in this moment. And so it might sound something like this. I could talk about self-care is not staying up really late for random stuff, um, and not getting enough sleep.
Mm, mm. It's not, for me, flying out to California to rescue one of my relatives.
Mm. It is not for me, pet sitting my grown daughter's foster kittens at all hours of the day and night because she took on a project when I was out of town.
Yeah, for me, it is not, well, not as much as I love working in the garden, don't work in the garden that much. No,
Mm.
no, too
So
much.
see, no right or wrong answers, just whatever your body, you're kind of checking in with your body and what is self-care not for you. And you're going to be out there about a minute or two, and then I'm going to send a little broadcast after you do the back and forth that says partner number one, say more about one of those. And in interplay, we do things where we don't have a regular conversation. When partner number one says more, partner number two is just listening. And then I'll send a little message, and partner number two talks, and partner number one listens. And then I'll send a message to notice. And then you can just kind of have a little conversation until the rooms close and you come back. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
All right. Y'all have fun, and I will send you notes. So your first prompt is what self-care is not for you in the moment, and back and forth, back and forth. Here we go.
Mhm.
Accept your invitation.
Mhm.
And Veronica, with our numbers, let's pause our recording. Hang on.
So, I'm looking on our schedule here. That this brings us to the five skills, huh?
Well, first, I just wanted, if you want, often when we're teaching, we talk about why we named it radical self-care,
Oh yeah.
and we
Mhm.
talked about getting to the root of things. So, if
Mhm.
you want to share just a minute about that before we do the five skills, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we also got to that when we with COVID and when we would people would talk about getting their nails done or they would talk about I don't know, getting a massage, which is nothing wrong with that. That's fine, but really we have something more real than that. It's in terms of like when Veronica was even mentioning about when you're in that situation where you're numb, you're not even living your life, you know. I mean, then you really need the support of other people, and like that's what we found in terms of being online, which I'm so glad we can do, uh, and be able to just it's kind of the root of it is not just me, it's also us. And and our culture doesn't encourage that as much as we really know. So we're really determined. This it's a we. It's a we what we are. We're better together, actually. You know,
Right.
and uh
Well,
Odie.
and also the physicality of it, right?
Yes,
When
yes.
I think when you said that, Veronica, it took me right back to my dad's bedside where I was his caregiver and I was holding his hand for the last 2 weeks of his life. And the physicality of that, of holding a hand and leaning over a bedside. And what self-care was for me in those moments was literally taking a breath and going outside when hospice would come in to give a bath or something like that. Like, what was that thing in that 2 minutes that I could do to give myself a little bit of a break? And maybe it was go to the bathroom. Maybe it was go outside. I remember they had this gorgeous lilac bush, and I would just go outside and I would smell that lilac bush and how much like peace it would give me. And then I'd go back in. And that sometimes when we're in it, like it is really those micro moments of the physicality of getting back to our breath or a hug or holding somebody's hand. So, yeah, thank you, Sheila. I'm going to share our screen about the five skills of self-care. And we have a class that we do every Tuesday morning called the Radical Self and Community Care, where we play with these on a regular basis. But we wanted to introduce them to y'all. from the book. So you had an idea of where we come from. Sheila, you want to kick us off?
Yes. So, well, first of all, I do want to say that these skills come from the story of the myth of Psyche. The myth of Psyche is who you think of because one of the things that she had to do, one of her assignments, was she had to keep going with her assignment while people were pleading with her that they needed help, and she had to be able to say no to them. So that's like the hardest part for those of us that feel for other people. And so anyway, but the five skills, I'm going to read the first one: sorting and separating what belongs to us from what belongs to others. And I could just say that I learned this a little bit when I was in a group that Christine and I are in Texas. And when we came together and we would tell about what our experience was, and then we started to realize that sometimes it wasn't us. We were picking it up from someone else. So is this me? Is this you? Is this us? And so that notion of sorting and separating what is me and what is not me.
Well, and number two is letting go and surrendering and learning when and how to do this. Anybody that has had experience with 12 steps knows this one, and it's harder, it's easier said than done about letting go and surrendering. That especially in caregiving situations, we don't have control. Sometimes we don't have control of the system we're in sometimes and we can advocate. We're not saying don't advocate, but I always say I was a birth doula and a death doula at different times in my life. And I'm like, there's no controlling birth and death. Like it comes when it's coming. And so sometimes we just have to let go and surrender some of that control and really knowing when do we do this and how do we do this.
The third one is one that many of us really know, and it builds if it builds as you know people and as you work together, but building and using partnership power to get help from others so that we're better together. And Christine and I working together is so much more fun and much more delightful than if we also do stuff by ourselves, but there's something really wonderful about having that partnership power. And that is in the myth, the notion of getting help. Sometimes we give help, we are the helpers, but we can be the helpees, and we can have it be a dance.
Hmm. Number four is stepping back to see the big picture and the relationship between the parts. Sometimes we're so in it, we have trouble seeing the whole relationship and why it's happening or what is happening. So that stepping back, the getting the eagle's eye view, the going up above the forest so we can see the whole forest for the trees is part of that and learning how to do that. And it's not always easy. Like, especially when we're in the day to day of caregiving or grief and loss. And, that old statement about time heals all things. I don't think that's true because I think often we need therapy in each other. But I think that it does give us sometimes that stepping back and the ability to see what was going on.
Mm. Then the last one is exercising choice. So you probably know people that the first thing they say is no.
Where
And some of them are 2 years old, so that's understandable. But some of them are way older than that, and they're still doing that. You know the answer is going to be no, 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 no. And maybe they come to a yes. And then you probably know people that are they're a yes, yes, everything. Oh, great, great idea, great. And and they don't do the no. So you got you don't have choice if you can't do both. So for if you're a yes person, you got to know how to be a no person at the right time, and vice versa. If you, you know, so and also I have seen this kind of be with some of these yes and no people that are married to each other, or they're that's just a challenge for everybody, right?
an extra special challenge. So we have two more activities we want to do as we head towards close. But before we do that, I put in the chat, we have an upcoming Art of Grieving retreat that is coming in May, May 28th through 31st in the beautiful highlands of Pennsylvania. And so we put a link if you want to check that out and join us. We would love to have you join us. We have a few more spots available, and we
Or
did
if
this,
you know somebody, because you
or
might
if you
know
know
somebody.
somebody,
Yeah, yeah.
right? We did this last year, and using the arts to deal with grief and stress of caregiving is a beautiful way, and it's kind of magical what we do. So we would love to have you join us. So one of the things we know to be true is when proves it is when you talk about self-care, when you write it, when you talk about it in community, it's more likely to come true. So, what we want to invite you to do in this moment is to take a moment to think about one thing, just one. It could be little or it could be big, that you will commit to for self-care for this week.
Mhm.
Sheila, while I get some music, will you set us up for our last movement together?
Okay. Yeah, so we discovered that we can do this online and that it's really fun. And so if you're game, what you need to do is you need to have a shape that you could hold for a bit. Any kind of a shape that you just, that's you could do that. And then you're going to have a repetitive movement that you could do. Some kind of a thing that you could do that won't make you tired. You just, and then you can go back and forth between your stillness and your repetitive movement. That's your choreography. And then you just do that, and we're going to play some music, and then you can copy off of other people and join in. Because one of the things our bodies love is to be in communion with other people and reflected in what our bodies are doing. So if you're game for this, let's take a deep breath together.
Take a moment to just have that for yourself and notice what you're noticing in your body. We invite you to put a hand on your heart and a hand up to the screen. We always like to give each other a little blessing. And then we like to take a little blessing and tuck it in our pocket for when times get hard this week, caregiving. We can bring it out and remember all these smiling faces and that you're not alone and that you don't, even though the word is self care, you don't have to do it by yourself. That there are a community of people that are willing to support you and help you, and especially on good grief, that there are resources and ways to be connected. And we are so grateful to be with y'all tonight and to meet you. So thank you for having us.
Thank you both so much. This was wonderful. And really appreciate everyone joining. I hope you guys all have a restful and relaxing rest of your week.